Hello, everyone. Again, I'm SD Height Susan, and I did my leadership analysis on horizontal violence in the workplace. It's technically considered bullying. They just have a really impressive term for it that I'd never heard of. So, to kind of give a background story on why I chose it, I work at the Nebraska Medicine Hospital in Omaha on the orthopedic floor. And the story behind it is I noticed a lot of cliques on my floor. Whether I fit in or not, it's not a big deal. But there are more clicks than there aren't, and then the ratio between gender with male versus female roles isn't really so much the issue. I think it's a lot of nurse to care tech bullying versus sometimes nurse to nurse, but not as much as what I can see from the nurse to CNA standpoint. As far as leads go, we have women leads on our floor, so there are no male lead roles, but I don't necessarily see gender to gender bullying as much as the nurse to CNA situation, so that's kind of where I'm basing off my point of view on this situation. With that being said, my lead nurse, she is one to definitely bring out the positivity on the floor and kind of include everybody each and every time something goes on, whether it be some floor events or, getting together to have play dates with those who have kids and including everybody kind of in the standpoint of getting rid of the excluding factor of what people feel when they feel bullied. To start off, that was kind of the lowdown on it. The question that I tried to answer, or my thesis statement, was driven to be, excuse me, my thesis statement is bullying that is a common occurrence. Wondering why it's a common occurrence in the nursing profession. It's likely caused because of low self-esteem and the lack of control in the working environment. So people take this leadership role or this superiority over people without being granted the permission or granted the control that they think they have. So when people take the initiative into their own hands, it becomes a repetitive act of what they call horizontal violence when people do what they're not really granted from a higher up standpoint. And like I said, it could be from superiors down to people more on a basic level of work, but it a lot of times is between just general coworkers and also feeling the stress of your coworkers watching over you or being aggressive towards you or showing aggression towards patients that also cause a big conflict in such things. It just kind of barrels down to a lot of, am I doing this right? Am I, questioning everything I do? And sometimes that reflects from your peers always watching over you or saying negative things or excluding you or starting rumors or anything of the sort. From the literature that I found, and this is just quoted from Chu and Evans, it's a self-esteem as dominant predictor of behavior, and nurses with healthy self-images are more likely to deliver therapeutic patient care than those with low self-esteem images, as well as experienced nurses bully the students, and the students see this bullying to the patients, and then they think that it's okay to kind of have that behavior or those mannerisms to the patients, which makes them feel like a burden or unwanted or, like that they are in the wrong hospital kind of thing. It's bullying is to be found to be common happening from the transition from a student nurse to a registered nurse on the actual floor. And that is all from the Chu Evans article that I had found. And another thing that they really talked about was the powerlessness. So when people have the urge to correct or guide or instruct somebody, the one thing that they're trying to make to help with the situation is to really incorporate policies to, they have the open door policy to some people, or they have like a chain of command where you go to talk about these things. But with horizontal violence, they want to incorporate policies where you can really get reprimanded for such consequences, because it's not right and it doesn't make people feel good, and it puts a lot of stress on the environment, which causes a lot of like retention rates and a lot of like turnover in employees. It's not cheap to hire somebody, and when people feel awful and about where they work and who they work with, they don't want to go to work. So they're trying to incorporate these policies to help have these things that they can get rid of, and have these knowledgeable preceptors that can be a resource to help reduce the stress and reduce the anxiety with all the emotional stress that they're feeling from being either new or just not fitting in, or whoever or however it would work for them. To incorporate those, they just have to make it, they're trying to make it a known policy for the organization, so it's more of a wide open house thing rather than just somebody being able to, being able to just go to someone and vent, because technically it could be disrespectful to the patient if someone is venting about a certain scenario and someone's information's getting out, and it could be a lot of issues with that. When I started talking about this topic, I mentioned to my aunt, who's a nurse in North Carolina, I mentioned to her that, yeah, I'm going to do it on like bullying in the nursing field. They call it horizontal violence. And she's like, oh my gosh, it's terrible. And I don't know if it's just because it's a woman prominent field or what it is, but I know that male sources could also be an indicator. I work with males, but they don't seem to be as bad as some of the females that carry on, friendships outside of work, that you do feel excluded sometimes. So it's just an ongoing, interesting topic. To kind of close up with everything, a lot of the research that I found does indicate that it's from, a low self-esteem standpoint, or somebody who doesn't have the power and they feel like they should or wish they should. And then as well as the lack of control in the environment plays a huge role in it. Bullying is an act of aggression to the nursing professionals. When individuals are unhappy, it causes a lot of absenteeism, which does cost the facility money. And then with the turnover rate and retention rates with that, it ends up to be more of a negative aspect on the organization than it does to, the person themselves or just the individuals. And as well as, people feel inferior to those around them when they're technically have the same initials behind their name. They don't feel as welcomed or, guided in the same profession. And you should be able to look up to your senior nurses rather than feel squashed by them. So these are my references here. A lot of interesting research that I found, and it was helpful to know that it wasn't just me that kind of felt like maybe, you don't always fit in on your floor, or you feel like there's a lot of like gossip going on behind you. This kind of reassured the fact that this is just the profession that we're in, and it's just like HIPAA. If it's not something you should say, you probably shouldn't say to somebody if you don't trust them. It just becomes kind of an issue, and it makes people feel really insecure about who they are as a person, and kind of makes them wonder if they got into the wrong field when they've been guided into a passion their entire life. It kind of makes someone question everything. So this is kind of the lowdown. I don't really have much else to say, but I hope you all enjoyed my presentation. Thank you.